Hello, this is Chiak. Obviously, the stream has been on a different day. Excuse me as I listen for my audio test to see that everything is working. There we go. Alright, so hello, this is Chiak. This is Omen Exitio Plague. I'm now free to actually do my live streams in peace. So, this one's obviously late. It's gonna be back to its regular Saturday. And the last week of October, I don't know, depending on how far I get with this, maybe I'll do a live stream on the weekday itself. But either way, let's get started with the main story here of Omen Exitio Plague. Lovecraftian. The beginning of a journey. Okay. You're accompanied by the sounds of the rigging rustling in the wind and the swelling of the waves as you stroll along the ship's deck. Its rocking evokes a slight sense of nausea, the wood groaning faintly with your every step as if something inside wanted to scream, but didn't quite have the energy. A journey, a long journey. Your ship is headed for Zanzibar. How long have you been at sea? You cannot even remember. The days following one another never changing. It feels like living in an endless haze, dazed and captured by the outline of those unknown waters. But all in all, you don't mind the feeling. After all, you are here to forget. Your name is Jake Huntington. You are a doctor, a researcher, or at least you were proud to call yourself one, before the entire world crumbled around you. You have always fought to save people's lives, but now you face a different battle where you have to kill. Such is the irony of fate. You enlisted in order to escape from yourself and, above all else, from the pain. You look out to sea, wondering whether the ship can carry you far enough. Reality seems suspended during sea travel. Time loses all meaning and extends infinitely, just like the blue expanse spread out before you. Day after day, you've been watching the horizon ahead bobbing up and down, when? Jake, remind me again why we're here. It feels like all this water has wiped my memory clean. The voice belongs to Ed O'Bannon, a blonde Irish boy. He can't be much older than 16, and just like every other evening, he's had a drop too much to drink. Yet he blames the long voyage for his memory lapses. Speak with Ed. Okay, so what is this? Notes. Items, characters, notes and achievements. This is a map. And this... oh, that just straight leads to character sheet. Character sheet, okay. Huh. Jake Huntington, date of birth, 12th of July, 1867, birthplace London. Status is currently healthy. Let's see. Medical researcher, widower. And then we have all of this. Experience points already. Cost 10. Okay. So we only have 2 experience points anyway, so it's not like I can do anything. So, I mean, fighting obviously makes sense. Helps you face enemies, allows you to notice details that are normally ignored by most people. Useful for finding clues. Useful for treating companions and yourself. Oh god. Agility helps you jump, run, and dodge enemies. Enemy hits. It allows you to take advantage of speed in combat. Oh my goodness, what kind of game am I getting myself into? Speechcraft allows you to persuade and intimidate those in front of you, obtaining information or manipulating their actions. Words at times are much more effective than any weapon. Alright, huh, interesting. Okay, how do I get back to... okay, this is nice and all, but I need to get back to the story. Here we go. Let's indulge. Abandoned, I have no idea why they're sending us over this forsaken island on the other side of the world. And let me tell you, I don't even care. All I know is that tomorrow we'll be there. at last. With these words, you leave Ed to his goddamn Irish drinking songs and head below deck. It's time to sleep. You're lying in your bunk and, just like every other night for the best part of a year, you're having a hard time falling asleep. You toss and turn in your sweat-soaked sheets until... Jake, are you asleep? It's Ryan Vespucci. I'm sorry, I so do not know how to say these names. The man in the bunk next to yours. He is the assistant cook hailing from Italy. Suddenly you remember that tomorrow it's your turn in the ship's mess. What is it, Ryan? I left you a list of the provisions we need in the galley tomorrow. I want to talk to you about something else as well. Oh, sorry. I left you a list of the provisions we need in the galley tomorrow. I want to talk to you about something else as well. I've been hearing rumors among the soldiers, but maybe we should discuss the matter tomorrow. Good night, Jake. The dorm is filled with heavy breathing and the loud snoring of your companions. Apparently everyone is sleeping soundly except for you. Turning over in your bed, you find the note Ryan left you under your pillow. The candlelight flickers in the dark, and the words come to life and dance before your eyes, while your pupils get used to the faint light of the wavering flame. I could say that. Jake, you think you joined the army to atone for your sins, but you're mistaken. You're not headed for Zanzibar by chance. What you will see over there will change your perspective so much that you will turn to your old profession once again. And during this journey, you'll discover that you have a friend. Well, it's not Ryan's list. You wonder whether it's just an odd prank by your fellow soldiers, but it seems too clever for them. Well, considering several theories, you finally slip into slumber, gently rocked by the waves. It won't be long until the landing, but this doesn't mean you can escape kitchen duty. Ryan hands you a bag of potatoes to peel, while he starts working on a bunch of carrots, slicing them with a skill and accuracy which is second to none, better than you've ever seen. Pass? Okay, reasons. Are you here because you want to be? Let's go for that. Are you asking me if I joined the army out of a passion? Well, I wouldn't say so. The pay is good and the meals are guaranteed. Besides, it doesn't seem to me that you're here for a passion either. Is it that obvious? Don't worry, apart from some fancy officers, I'd bet a few people are here just for fun. Shouts coming from the deck interrupt your chatting. Land ahoy! You hurry up and carry out your tasks before landing. Zanzibar port is a racket. Sailors yelling in a wide variety of accents while goods are unloaded onto the docks, piling up in small mountains of crates. You are on the deck, observing the slowly approaching shapes of Stone Town. Soon at last, you will once again set foot on solid ground. Okay, I really want to... So mostly we're just meeting all the new people, right? Yeah. Got 4 experience points as well. Okay. You're granted some free time, so you treat yourself to a stroll around town. You're walking along the quay when a beggar approaches you. His rough hooded tunic covers his face. He reeks and walks with a limp, leaning heavily on the stick. Even though you don't understand what he's saying, you understand from his gesture that he's asking for charity. You hand out coin to the beggar, and as he reaches out to grab it, you notice a tattoo on the inside of his wrist. You only get a glimpse of it, but it strikes you with its peculiarity. The simple shape reminds you of an eye. The beggar tries to get your attention and follows you. He grabs your shirt, forcing you to stop. He slips his hand into your pocket and then suddenly starts running. His apparent disability has gone, and he's no longer limping. Chase? The beggar runs along the dock as nimbly as an acrobat. When two sailors carrying some bulky crates pop out in front of him, he vaults clear over them as easily as if he were stepping over them. The sailors stop to yell at him, dropping the crates and blocking your path. Ignore the men go around. You swerve right and sprint past the obstacle, ignoring the men and running straight towards the beggar. When the thief realizes you're still chasing him, he jumps onto one of the small boats moored in a row in the harbor. He hops effortlessly from one boat to the next in spite of the movement and quickly gets away. For continuing to use, you better make sure he has actually stolen something valuable. You check your pockets. The only thing missing is the strange message you found in place of Ryan's list. Why did that man steal it? He probably thought it was money. You're still confused about what just happened when Ryan approaches you on the dock. Jake, the hell are you doing? Leave's over. We've been called to muster. You follow the half-Italian to the dock of your ship. The troop is examined and soon makes its way to headquarters. You march with the squadron you were assigned to, lost in your thoughts. You expected an entirely different welcome from Zanzibar. With sweat and blood. Oh, I'm gonna assume this is the eye. Okay. So we have 6 apparent... Okay. Wake up. Everyone on their feet, quickly. You open... What? What's this? You open one eye, followed by the other. You feel the slow swaying of the sea and that peculiar smell of the ship. Something like unwashed bodies and acrid salt, which prickles your nostrils. But it is just for a moment, and within seconds you are on your feet. Okay, what's this? Oh, weird. Okay. Oh, that's just to go back. Was this always there and I didn't realize it? It is Smith, captain of the troop, who is yelling at you in the early morning. O'Bannon groans. He is still not up, and luckily the captain is unaware of it. The cries of Captain Smith could sink a battleship on their own. Smith notices your sleeping mate and moves over to the bed with such force that the boards shake below his feet. You shiver, thinking of what is about to happen, even though you can do nothing but witness the captain popping O'Bannon's eardrums. O'Bannon, you'll have time to rest when you're dead and buried in a grave, and I don't see a single grain of sand on your body. Come on, stand up, quick! Moments of dread unfold for poor Ed, who staggers around the dorm, followed by Smith's insults. You're outside, waiting for the training to start. O'Bannon is next to you, still sleepy. After weeks of travel, Smith fears you have all gone soft. Looking at the men in your row, the doubt seems to be entirely valid. You can see the distortion and lack of sleep on their faces. Disorientation. The air is filled with sand and your boots sink into the mud. The view is desolate except for some isolated shacks. Smith is explaining the details of this morning's training with a cracked, rasping voice. You're distracted by the view. The weariness from the journey makes his speech hard to follow, and you end up missing parts of it, but you are sure you are not the only one. No one can get used to this new situation due to the brevity of the captain's speech. You hesitate for a moment, but Smith breaks the silence with an unyielding command shouted aloud. Come on, move, ladies, until you're all awake. Oh, interesting. Okay, so get one observation. You put yourself at the head of the group. You want to control the pace. You stay next to him to try to help him. You follow Ryan, who is running at a regular pace. You don't want to get too tired too soon. Okay. So. I mean, I do like observations. I mean, they're all going to be useful, right? That's the thing. But what do I want to go for now? Speechcraft? In order to, Here, I'll go for observation. I think the next one I want to do is speechcraft. Whilst running, you try to get an impression of your comrade's physical shape. In the event of a fight, that could indeed make a difference. As far as running is concerned, they all seem fine, except for O'Bannon, whose difficulties certainly aren't due to his usual physical fitness. Once you arrive at the training ground, you must crawl through mud and overcome several grueling obstacles, climbing walls, barbed wire, and thick tires. This time, no one waits for Smith to start barking orders, and you all dive onto the ground for the next exercise. You take a breather to see how O'Bannon is getting along. In his current condition, you are worried he will end up sinking into the mud and suffocate. Your concerns turn out to be well-founded. You see O'Bannon trying to slip out to catch his breath. Unfortunately, he ends up lying down with his face right in the muck, in the middle of the training path. O'Bannon, keep doing that and I will put you in isolation. Good job, Vespucci. Huntington, you need to work harder. Smith surely isn't generous with his encouragement. You try to clean yourself up as fast as possible. Your clothes are wet and heavy, not exactly ideal for your next task. Climbing a palm tree as quickly as possible, picking a coconut and climbing back down, preferably in one piece. Okay, medicine, observation again. Reach the top as quickly as possible. Okay, now I want the speechcraft. Okay, I should have read it. Okay, either way, we're trying to take care of O'Bannon. I appreciate your comradeship, Huntington, but I want to see your coconut all the same. You nod, helping Bannon to sit on the ground, then carry out your task. You try not to show any annoyance or irritation towards Smith. You deliver the coconut and get back to your mate. It's time for the gun test. Smith examines you quickly with grave glances, while a soldier hands you a rifle. The task is simple. You need to hit the target. Okay, you shot your rifle, then encourage O'Bannon to imitate you, trying to be convincing. Before shooting, you check every part of the rifle to assure it's working perfectly. Shoot without overthinking. Medicine. I do want more observation. I can go for medicine. I'm hoping I can go for medicine stuff later. Before taking position, you carefully check the rifle for irregularities. Excellent, Huntington. You must always check your rifle before shooting. A jammed weapon in battle could mean death or blow up in your face. Your shot hits very near the center of the target. Great shot, Huntington. After the shooting range, Smith takes you to a large, flat, dusty area. In front of you, there are a series of worn-out cannons. Smith wastes no time in pairing off the men to cooperate in both the maintenance and actual use of the cannons. He probably wants to test your teamwork skills. You find yourself paired with O'Bannon and who joyfully comes to you, stumbling a bit. That seems... You carry out the task trying to prevent helping too much. You pressure O'Bannon into helping you. Okay, it seems I'm just going for speechcraft and observation. Come on, Ed. I need your help here. Otherwise, Smith will take care of your hangover, and he won't be nice about it. I can assure you. O'Bannon lifts his head and nods, and he manages to cooperate, helping you take a good shot. Smith is not satisfied at all, and he sharply explains your next task. It's time to practice hand-to-hand combat. Naturally, you are paired with O'Bannon. You look at your partner, assessing his state. He's still a bit dazed, but at least he is standing, and seems a little more aware, so you get set to carry out your task. You block and dodge. What is this one? O'Bannon's blows. You attack without giving O'Bannon time to respond. I'll go for the medicine. O'Bannon hesitates a few moments, then starts to hit you. You exchange some blows, then you manage to land a punch between his neck and shoulder. You have planned it well. O'Bannon falls to the ground semi-conscious. Victory is yours. Smith stares at you for a couple seconds, then he mumbles something, but he seems pleased. He orders you to get started on the next task. Once again, you are to practice hand-to-hand combat, but this time your opponent is Vespucci. You look at him and he smiles. You both know he's stronger than you. You try to limit the damage, raising your hand to protect the most vulnerable parts. You try to buy time in order to find... Focus on dodging his blows. Okay. Let's go for agility. Vespucci throws his mighty fists around as you're dodging them. You can feel the air moving. Your enemy soon gets anxious. No matter what he does, you manage to keep your distance. I didn't know you were an eel, Huntington. As soon as he attempts one more strike, you dodge him once again and manage to unbalance him, knocking him down. As your comrade brushes the dust off his trousers, you hold out your hand with a smile. Ryan smiles back, takes your hand, and he gets up, congratulating you on the good fight. Smith continues relentlessly shouting orders. You pick up all the equipment, the backpack, and the training rifle. It seems that the captain wants you to be full of adrenaline for the combat simulation, so that you don't hold anything back. He forces you to run right through the jungle to reach your next destination. You glance at O'Bannon and notice his arms bleeding. Stop to help him? Wait, Ed, what happened there? You point at the trace of blood on his hand. O'Bannon shrugs to minimize his injury, and you answer with a smirk, gesturing at him to come towards you. You try to patch him up as best you can. You can look after his injury later with greater care. I had to stop. You got hurt during our fight. Jake, come here, Ed. As slowly as you are, we will be lost anyway. Bannon mumbles and smirks, but he gives you his arm. You lift his sleeve and check the wound. It's not too bad, but may get infected here in the dirt. You clean it up with your canteen water and wrap it with a handkerchief. When the training is over, you will take another look at it. You and O'Bannon are the last to reach Captain Smith's prearranged spot, both panting and red-faced. You're welcomed by a barrage of insults, which Smith spits at you both with equal parts saliva and venom. The squadron moves on together, but without you, O'Bannon and Vespucci, you fell behind to deal with your friend's wound, and the Italian wanted to assist you. He is always ready to help. Ed is immediately taken to the headquarters in order for his wound to be sutured. I don't know if I'm saying that right. You wonder whether you should follow him and perform the task yourself, or leave him in the hands of another doctor and go on with the training. Well, the other doctor will be fine. Stay with the troop. You notice two sergeants talking, so you and Vespucci move towards silently to listen in. This is a very realistic battle simulation. Keep it to yourself, but I've heard that we will soon be heading into action. The political situation here is unstable. You look at Vespucci, just next to you. He gravely nods. This rumor has been spreading amongst the men for a while. Hearing it from the officers doesn't comfort me at all. Now it's time for the last part of the training, teamwork. The troop stops near an abandoned fortress, and the two groups are ordered to get into formation. One will attack the walls, the other will handle the artillery, either bombarding the weak walls of the fort or providing cover for the frontline soldiers. Artillery? The orders are clear. You have to take the fort as quickly as possible, while trying to limit the enemy's counterattacks, and you must decide which strategy to use. Hit beyond the walls to offer cover for the men who are advancing. These are intense moments, filled with shouts, blasts, and dust. The simulated battle seems quite real. The day is now coming to an end, and the mock attack on the fort has been carried out. The men are all exhausted, yourself included. I'm proud of you all. Today you made a real effort. Tomorrow we could even go on the attack. But for now it's time to rest and refresh ourselves. The day's light has almost disappeared below the horizon when your captain brings the soldiers back together. He has an important message for all the men. He has not yet started to talk. He is waiting for everyone to sit down, but you can feel some serious tension filling the air. The pro-British Sultan, Hamad bin Tuwani, ruler of Zanzibar, died on the day of your arrival on this island, and Khalid, an illegitimate ruler, has since taken his place. An ultimatum has been sent to Khalid requesting that he abdicate peacefully. That ultimatum will expire tomorrow morning. Okay. So, just because I just want to get rid of all the shining... all the shining dots. Okay, there's the mysterious tattoo. Strict but fair, Smith is an excellent captain. He has great strategic skills and knows very well the capabilities of all the men under his command, taking full advantage of their potential. Assistant cook of Italian origin, he's your cabin mate, available, funny, and with a great sense of duty, he's always ready to give you a hand. Okay. Now let's look at the character sheets. So far I have 2 for observation, 2 for speechcraft, and then medicine and agility both 1. At some point I will get fighting, but... Alright. Let's continue on. Your squadron is lined up in the courtyard of the headquarters. It's 8 o'clock in the morning, but this time everyone is wide awake. You are ready to set off for the Sultan's palace. Looking around, you can see the anxiety in the faces of your fellow soldiers. Okay. Did I have... Yeah, I just saw that I had enough there, so I think... 20... Let's just get everything up to 1 so far. The time given for the ultimatum is almost up. The British force is composed of various ships and around 1,000 men, but the Sultan's army should not be underestimated. Between his most loyal men and the soldiers subdued to his will, the prince has gathered a small army, certainly enough to propose a threat. The reason for Smith's urgency in training the men, with all those hours crawling in the mud and climbing palm trees, is now clear. He was figuring out how prepared his soldiers were, rather than just training the new recruits. Khalid's granted time has almost run out, and the Rear Admiral Harry Lawson, who is on board the St. George, notifies the men to stand by for the attack. You don't know him well, but you have heard he is intolerant of anyone who fights under any banner but his. It's General Lloyd Matthews who begins the attack, ordering his men to open fire upon the prince's palace, well known for his extraordinary willpower and determination. Matthews is just one goal in this fight: unseat the usurper as quickly as possible. Even Smith seems intimidated by the figure of Zanzibar's Prime Minister, General Matthews, and nervously commands his troop to move forward to the palace. He wants a reconnaissance group to avoid ambush and to look for the best point to strike. You offer to go reconnaissance the docks. You offer to assault the palace gardens. Let's go reconnaissance. Let's get those observation points. Let's put those observation points to use. Sir, I'd like to volunteer to go on a recon mission to the dock. Smith appreciates your initiative. After looking you straight in the eye for a few moments, he decides to put you in command of the operation, and chooses a group of men who are going to follow you and take your orders. You lead your group, running close to the palace walls and sliding along like thin shadows in the daylight. You place yourselves near the shore, hiding behind dunes, where your backs barely sink into the sand, and your watchful eyes can have a view of the entire dock. All around you, the sound of the cannons echoes from the allied ships, which are wiping out the opponents. Lean out of the sandy mounds, checking. With a rapid glance, you realize most of the Sultan's artillery has been neutralized, and the English ships have bombarded the shores, annihilating any resistance. Many locals are dead, and you watched as the injured are being carried away. In the distance, not far from the dock, you see the only enemy ship sinking, mirroring the situation on the land. The whole situation seems to favor the British army, so you decide to retreat to the palace gardens. This way you can support the allies in your battle, which is almost at its climax. Okay. Sorry, I just want to see. I need 30 or 20 for any of them. While you move forward, you meet your allies on their way back. They are euphoric, and when they see you, they flail their arms around with joy. The war for the Sultan's palace has turned out to be a surprisingly short-lived affair. After only 45 minutes of steady cannon fire, the British army has forced the Sultan and his men to surrender. Despite the brevity of the battle, you're happy with yourself and how you managed to contribute to the victory. At the end of the fight, while he addresses the troops, Smith unexpectedly addresses you in front of the other men. Huntington, you did well in the battle. I didn't know you were a leader. Okay. Okay, we got 10 experience points now. You head toward the headquarters with your troop. You walk away from where the fight took place and turn to look at the Sultan's palace, which is still surrounded by smoke from the battle. The ruins collapse in upon themselves, causing clouds of sand and dirt, while you see the British ships in the distance, peacefully sailing away in the background. You fell behind. The rest of the troop are now far ahead. You speed up to reach them when an elegantly dressed man approaches you on the street. The stranger takes his hat off in greeting and he speaks to you with a German accent. Mr. Huntington, could I trouble you for a moment of your time? You're confused. You've never seen this man, so far as you can recall. You stop on the street, staring at him without uttering a single word, while the crowd seems to distance itself from around you, as if they were trying to avoid the embarrassment of an uncertain situation. Finally, your mind manages to find a concrete answer, while your mysterious interlocutor awaits with great patience, with his hat held to his chest. Gracious. Pardon me, but do we know each other? Forgive my rudeness. My name is Meyer. Nice to meet you in person, finally. He keeps smiling at you, barely bending his head in a sign of respect, as if he is waiting for your next query, which is not long in coming. The pleasure is mine, Mr. Mayor. May I ask how you know my name? You see, Mr. Huntington, I am here on behalf of a group of people who deal with public health. The gentleman group I belong to is very interested in what happens around it, and in the whole world. You, we know, of course, by reputation. What reputation? You're just one of the many doctors in London, and you are not even sure whether your neighbors would recognize you. Mayor's German accented speech stops the flow of your thoughts. I'd hoped to talk to you, if you have time, of course. Walk away. Sure, let's go into the, whatever this is, depths of trouble. You sit down in a bar along the street. The man orders 2 coffees while he watches you with a strange but friendly smile. Unable to inspire trust, he raises his cup just a little, sipping his coffee and studying your every movement, making you uncomfortable. Please don't be so nervous. You make me feel like an executioner ready to cut your head. The man smiles, then he lowers his cup in front of him, leaning his elbow on the table. His hands meet in the tangle of fingers near his chin. He never stops staring at you, not even for a moment. We know you are not a soldier. Your medical research is cutting edge. I and the gentleman I represent have gathered a lot of information about you, and we'd be interested in working together. Think of us as modern patrons. He laughs as if he found his metaphor enjoyable, or perhaps he's simply amused by the astonished paleness of your face. You don't need to answer yet, Mr. Huntington. Think about it. You know that every disease has consequences. Some of them go beyond even the deplorable loss of human lives. We are studying a dreadful disease which could soon turn into a pandemic. For this reason, we are looking for people who could really make a difference in dealing with such diseases. People like you. You should not quit, even though I can understand how, after your terrible tragedy. Tragedy? Is he really talking about Helen? He really has done his research on you, because that was no joke. You can't help wondering how he knows so much, especially about Helen. Okay, you managed to leave as soon as possible. You don't like where this is going. You want to see where Meyer intends to go with this. Even if that man knows many things about you, he'll never know how you felt about losing Helen. Let's go with this one. I don't think you know or remotely comprehend. You answer harshly, tightening your fists unconsciously. I know more than you think, Huntington. I know you're a determined man, and soon you're going to face the truth of what I am talking about. By the time you witness what this disease can do, I will be back, and I know you'll have to realize how serious the situation is. One more revelation that shocks you. You start feeling very uncomfortable, and nausea attacks you, making you unable to answer or do anything apart from wringing your hands. Think about it, Mr. Huntington. We are willing to offer everything you need to help you change the destiny of the whole world. The man waves goodbye to you without granting you the chance to respond, vanishing into the crowd like a ghost. The meeting has left you pensive and distraught. It seems Meyer wants your collaboration, offering you his help, yet there's something about him that doesn't convince you. Too many secrets and oddities. You met a new character? Okay. You enlisted to forget Helen and the illness which took her away from you, but your efforts have been in vain. Your wife would have never wanted you to quit your job, yet not being able to save her destroyed your self-confidence and left you consumed by doubt and guilt. Now it seems the past is trying to reach out to you in some way. Then you remember the message you'd like to ask. You'd like to ask Meyer whether he sent that warning. You regret not having thought of it before, but it's too late now. He is already long gone. Okay, let's just check. 14. One of my notes. Meyer, this character we don't know yet. No items yet. And then season no more let's on. Okay. Oh, not the map. I'm sorry. No! The book! The story! Invisible evil. Excuse me as I take a drink of water. You are at the headquarters during one of the quiet moments granted by training. A man comes up to you, panting heavily, to tell you that you have been summoned to see Smith. Your curiosity piqued, you head to his office. Following the Battle of Zanzibar, you have no idea as to what Smith could want from you now. You soon find yourself in front of Smith, who silently looks you up and down. His eyes freeze you to the spot. After looking at you for what seems like an infinity, the captain clears his throat and looks out towards the window. The country is in a critical condition, Huntington. A dangerous disease is spreading along the borders of German Africa and British East Africa. He turns his head, barely looking at you. Even the German border. Meyer mentioned the disease, an epidemic. Is this the same disease he was talking about? You wonder why Smith is so interested in this mysterious outbreak, but you stay silent, waiting for him to continue. I'm going to lead a regiment, which is departing now to investigate that area of the country and study the threat. I would like you to be part of the expedition. You're opening your mouth to answer when Smith turns back towards you and leans his arms on his desk. He is wearing a slightly pained expression. He then starts leafing through the stacks of papers, carefully examining them. This time, I need your academic skills more than your soldiering skills. I read your files. You were a doctor back in London. A very good doctor. I want you to join the expedition to study the disease. This is not what you had expected. Working as a doctor reminds you of the failure which had led you to run off, to enlist, to fight in order to avoid your painful feelings. You were unable to save the one person you loved more than anyone else in the world. Now Smith needs your medical skills, and you can't very well disobey his orders, yet you're unsure how to proceed. Let's go for reluctance. Huntington, if you're any kind of soldier, you'll follow the orders you're given. The captain looks at you harshly, but you feel that deep down he is also worried. You don't know what he discovered in your files, but that glance hides a glimmer of comprehension. You can see the palpable concern in each other's eyes. Then the captain breaks the silence. Get to your armory, Sergeant. Carrick will provide you with the equipment you'll need for the mission. Prepare yourself properly, Huntington. We will be heading into some dangerous places. As you're walking to the armory, other thoughts gather in your mind. Your past is coming back to you, like some kind of threatening shadow, cautiously approaching, waiting to pounce on you at the first opportunity. One more mysterious disease to study. And that man, Meyer. You wonder whether this is the same disease, or all this is just a bizarre coincidence. Sergeant Carrick, you met him when you enlisted in London, and you have gradually taken to his scowling face and his harsh and abrupt manner. He is pedantic and excessively dutiful man, but he probably wouldn't have been put in charge of weapons and supplies without these qualities. As always, he stares at you with half-closed eyes as if trying to focus on you. Huntington, what a pleasure to see you. I didn't know you would be assigned to this mission. I can't believe they'd still trust you with a rifle. He burst into a brief, hoarse laugh at his own bad joke. Friendly. Sergeant, I'm sorry to disappoint you, but my aim has improved greatly since I first met. Now I can even hit a moving target. You spend some time chatting with Carrick, who keeps staring at you with that half smile, which splits his face into two asymmetric parts. He reminisces about an amusing incident from the past, which was considerably more embarrassing for you than for the sergeant. He appears delighted by these cadets' memories. After a while, you decide to cut him short so as not to be late for Smith's appointment with the regiment. I'm setting out again, Carrick. One more expedition. Something big's come up. Something big? Is a promotion, Huntington. You don't have enough scars to play the big veteran yet. The sergeant laughs, but he watches you with a beady eye. He never pushes his mockery too far. You know perfectly well that Carrick likes you, even took you under his wing to some measure. Well, Smith told me something about it already. It seems he has a thing for you, the captain. Well, if that's the case, you'll need the appropriate equipment. You're not sure whether Smith is capable of having a thing for anyone or anything, but you don't dispute Carrick's words or even answer him. Carrick takes you to another part of the armory. The room is big, but mostly empty and somewhat abandoned looking. The war at the Sultan's palace must have drained a large portion of the British supplies and provisions. The racks are almost empty, and Carrick only puts two weapons on the table in front of you. A rifle and a pistol. Huntington, you can choose one weapon only. This isn't London, our resources are limited. Rifle or pistol? Okay. The rifle? He dismantles the weapon and puts it back together with extraordinary familiarity. His movements are quick and precise. The sergeant carefully checks the rifle and hands it over to you, together with some ammunition. Now I got an item. Where are you heading, Huntington? Command hasn't told us a damn thing about the mission, and Smith is quieter than a mouse. Chiak pretends to not care, but it's obvious that he's extremely eager to know what's going on. Neither is he subtle. Information. Ooh, let's use our speechcraft. You put some emphasis into the story you tell Chiak, eager to voice your concerns. There's a disease, some sort of epidemic terrorizing the whole of East Africa. Smith wants me to join the expedition because he knows about my past as a doctor, and he'd like me to study the disease, but I'm not so sure that I will be able. I don't... You hesitate for a moment, your nervousness giving away by your shaking hands. Chiak seems to notice it, and he stops you mid-sentence. Somehow, your being honest has granted you his sympathy. It sounds like a dangerous mission. I have something that might come in handy. The sergeant starts thoroughly searching the drawers of the armory counter, carefully moving aside ammunition and mechanical junk of all kinds. Where the hell is it? I was sure I put it here. Oh, here it is. Chiak stands up and puts a little object in your hand. It resembles a gun, but it's tiny, like some sort of miniature toy, rather than a real weapon. You can't help but notice that, unlike everything else here, the gun is entirely spotless, polished, and seemingly brand new. I know nothing about medicine, Jake. It's not my field. One thing I do know, though, is that in close contact with the enemy, this little thing here could be the difference between life and death. Staring at you with extreme seriousness, he gives you the weapon and shows you how to grip it. It's a single-shot Colt Derringer. Don't let its size fool you. It's as deadly as any other weapon, and easier to use than the rifle. He tries to diffuse the tension with an empty laugh and puts a hand on your shoulder. You put the Colt in an inner pocket and smile back at him, a silent gesture of gratitude. Now, to the storeroom. I've got something for you. You follow your old friend towards a fairly large room, as empty and dirty as the rest of the armory. It reminds you of the jungle where you trained with the rest of the regiment. Perhaps it's just the same humidity, sticking your clothes uncomfortably to your body. There are crates scattered here and there, but you can clearly see that the British store of weapons and supplies is running low. This equipment belonged to a doctor who was discharged some years ago. Chiak puts a magnifying glass, some vials, surgical calipers, and the first aid kit onto the counter. Yeah, of course we're going to accept. Thanks, Chiak. These tools will be very useful. You carefully place the objects in your backpack and thank Chiak for everything. You talk about your time in London together and various other things before you say goodbye and take your leave. Okay, I got 4 items. Good luck, Jake. The sergeant keeps watching you with his half-closed eyes as you walk away, chuckling to himself as usual. You walk back towards headquarters, tightening your backpack straps as you go. Smith and a small contingent of men are waiting for you in front of the barracks, ready to depart. Huntington, you're always late. You rejoin the regiment without getting lost in idle conversation. I'm happy you're here too. At least we'll have something decent to eat. Can't stand the food here much longer. There's insects in almost everything we're given. Ryan answers with a loud laugh and claps you on the back with all the delicacy of a London bare-knuckle fighter. You don't know how to make anything even remotely edible. I know. I just heard something about this mission, something about a disease. What about you? Have you heard anything? After a moment's consideration, you decide to tell your friend what you know. Smith asked me to join this expedition as a doctor. He wants me to study this disease, and I'm afraid this is something serious. The Italian cook nods before his face lights up as he remembers something important. Oh, I almost forgot. O'Bannon should be with us too. As if summoned by some kind of ritual, O'Bannon appears at your side, puts his hand on your shoulder. Look who's here, Dr. Jake and Vespucci, the golden ladle. He bursts out laughing, then whispers in your ear. I have some really nice bottles with me. It's going to be a good laugh. As usual, everything is a game for him. Somehow, each time O'Bannon opens his mouth, he reminds you of the stupid innocence of youth. Okay, so wait. Let's see. So we got the first aid kit, small leather bag containing medical equipment, tools, medical equipment, okay. Flasks, magnifying glass, Sergeant Carrig. Then is there anything? Okay, I got exactly 20. So if I want, I could better my medicine. Oh, interesting. Medicine is useful for treating your companions and yourself, but can also be used offensively if you know where to hit to do more harm. You do not need to use brute force. Ah. That's not bad. Okay, let's just save it off for now. Maybe it'd be better if the Irishman were to take the situation more seriously. The good humor brought by the young man is contagious and you can't help but smile. I don't know. I mean, on one hand, it's like, I do want to, like, yeah, like, this is, we're going to dangerous situation, please take this seriously. At the same time, he's going to see it at some point, right? Maybe? Or maybe he's just trying to drown his sorrows. I don't know. Take it easy with that flask, or sooner or later you'll have a whiskey for blood. If only that were true, Doc. I'd be singing through every day and good night the good Lord's given us. As if to illustrate the veracity of his words, he starts singing an old Irish drinking song. Despite everything, you feel more relaxed knowing both of your friends will be part of the mission. You don't really know the other men in the regiment yet. Smith is in front of you, smoking his pipe intently. He's holding the hand of a small boy. He looks about 6. Noticing your presence, the captain approaches with the child. Huntington, you haven't met my son yet. This is Scott. He wants to come with us to see all the wild animals, but this mission is too important, isn't it? The child looks up at his father pleadingly, hoping to make him feel guilty. The captain's stern expression melts away as he ruffles his hair paternally. Another time, Scott. You say goodbye to Scott, who hides shyly behind his father. Smith yells out at the men. On the march, men! We have a long road ahead. Okay. So there should be 24. Okay, so what I'm gonna say right now. I mean, it could just be today. My voice is not, because it's already kind of getting a bit rough here. I think I might. Yeah, like the week of like 22nd from 23rd, 29th, I could also live stream. I don't know how long it's gonna take. I know there's also side stories, so that's why I'm kind of concerned. Okay, let's see if I can go at least 90 minutes though. You're back at sea. Since your arrival in Zanzibar, you haven't had a moment's peace, always being moved from a place to place. Nonetheless, Helen's image is still engraved in your mind. The grief of her loss has torn you up inside. You hear her voice echoing in your head. She calls your name, pleading for your help. Jake. Jake. The horrors of your past still haven't left you. Not even here, on the other side of the world. Lost in your thoughts, you hadn't noticed that the vessel you are on, which is much smaller than the ship that brought you to Zanzibar, and just big enough to contain your squadron, has reached the docking point of a seemingly abandoned village. You don't know what to expect yet, but the idea of confronting the disease that Captain Smith was talking about is putting you on edge. You quickly disembark from the ship and you get in line. Smith examines you, then orders a search of the village. You walk around the hut slowly and watchfully, as if expecting an attack at any moment. Despite the village's abandoned appearance, you examine some dwellings and it feels like you're in a horror story. Some beds are still warm, there's still food and water on the table, and abandoned wooden toys and utensils give an impression of recent activity. It looks as if the people here have suddenly vanished and disappeared into thin air. Then you hear something, a sizzle in the air, an unidentifiable smell mixed with that of dying embers. You look and see smoke coming from behind a hut. Your heart skips a beat. Maybe someone is still here. You move closer quickly. You can't stand the creeps this village is giving you. You go around the hut, and there, right in front of you, is the answer to all your questions. The stink is unbearable and forces you to cover your nose with your hands. Flies do a grisly dance around the carbonized corpses, flitting here and there like loose cannons. You stare at the bodies, stunned. Their flesh is covered by the remains of a bonfire. Muscles exposed to the sparkling red embers. Their carved up expressions swallowed by ashes. It's a pile of death, black smoke and buzzing insects. Behind you, you hear someone approaching at a quick pace. You recognize that unmistakable sound and you turn to see Captain Smith. He's clearly worried, although he's trying to hide it from himself and the rest of the men. All the men gaze at the bonfire while a blanket of silence falls upon you. Move closer to have a better look at the corpses. I only have... So I can do another medicine. If I can do medicine now... I mean, I feel like... I mean, obviously they're not going to be... Move closer to look at the corpses to have a better look. You examine the rest of the corpses. I feel like examining would be better here. Okay, let's just do this and examine. Slowly moving closer, you try to examine the charred remains of the corpses. There are no visible wounds, and something makes you suspect that they died from disease. On some of the bodies, you can still see the remains of blood rivulets that have streamed from the eyes. Hemorrhages. This could be the mysterious disease. That's not a good sign. As far as we know, this village should have been outside the contaminated area. The captain's initial hesitation betrays his concern. Smith pulls out a map from his backpack after having searched for it for a few moments and shows it to you. He points to 3 small villages near the rebel camp. We are near the German border. We have to proceed carefully. There might be enemy soldiers in this area. You're deciding which village to explore first when a noise emanating from a hut startles you, making you turn instantly. With your rifle ready to shoot, walking slowly and with a terrified expression, a man moves closer with his hands up in the air. Stop! I'm a friend. My name is Bestirai. I help. The man watches you with anxiety, still terrified of being riddled with bullets. His glance moves frantically from one face to another, then it rests on yours. Smith gestures to lower the rifles, then he steps forward and addresses Bestirai. Who did this? Bestirai moves his eyes away from you like he woke up from some kind of trance and follows Smith's gaze to the pile of charred corpses. Food? First eat, then help. Smith snorts, annoyed. Give him something to eat. He's coming with us. He could be useful. Bestirai continues smiling, and Ryan gives him a food ration from his personal provisions. Smith's eyes return to his map while he slowly moves over to you. He passes the map to you. What do you think, Huntington? Where should we start from? It is clear Smith has full confidence in your judgment. Your role in this mission is of primary importance. Okay. Hold on, let's It's interesting we meet the kid character, though I have no idea why. Back to 10 points. Where's my notes? Sorry, map. Explore the West Village, South, north, south. As you enter the village, you are plunged into an eerie silence. You have a déjà vu, reliving a memory that has come to knock at the door of your reality. It's exactly like the first handful of huts you saw when you came ashore. Empty homes and the signs of life that were extinguished in the blink of an eye. Smith gestures at you to split up and investigate, while the vice of anguish grips your heart once again. Suddenly you hear a noise coming from the bushes around you. The murmur of foliage disturbed by motion, branches rustling, the play of sunlight on the leaves turning into a dangerous glare. You whirl around, your heart skipping a beat. You catch a glimpse of a shadow flitting from branch to branch. You exhale with relief. It was just a bird. You advance deep into the forest, branches twisting away from the trees as if trying to escape the hold of the trunk, as though they were frozen in their contorted attempt at escaping, drawing disquieting shadows in the daylight, through which they slice with crooked fingers. You can almost hear them screaming. No, you're really hearing a voice. Somebody is actually screaming in the abandoned village. Is Besterie. You run back. You run, moving the branches away from your face, and those you miss scratch at you as if trying to hold you there to share their pain. When you get to the interpreter, he is in shock. He's upset, babbling, his eyes wide, gesturing frantically at the forest. Devil! Devil! You cannot understand what he means. Question. You try to calm down Besterie, putting your hands on his shoulders and looking him straight in the eyes. You let him vent and talk to you, replying to him in a calm and steady voice. You ask him to explain more clearly what devil he has seen. White man naked, red eyes, cries blood, want to kill. You wonder what he could have seen or whether his words, however implausible, are an accurate description of the truth. Could he really have seen a white man seemingly possessed? You don't have time to question him further. A figure suddenly appears out of nowhere and attacks you. It's a fair-skinned man shouting incoherent words. In an instant, he throws you to the ground and wraps his hand around your neck. Your vision grows dim, and small flashes seem to lure you into consciousness, your pupils filling with glowing flecks. You know you're about to lose consciousness as you struggle to breathe. His bloodshot eyes, in the grip of madness, are fixed on you. The man gnashes his teeth like an animal so hard it is audible. Okay, I only have 1 point, so... Damn it. You manage to throw the aggressor off balance with a thrust of your back, but the elbow jab you follow it with makes contact with his face too weakly, so that the man reacts immediately, twisting his leg around your body and raining punches and scratches down on you. You're about to lose consciousness again when suddenly your enemy freezes, caught suddenly by Vespucci's bayonet, now piercing his body from behind. Right through his spine, blood drips from the madman's mouth, and he stares at you, wild-eyed, and exhales his last breath before collapsing on you, lifeless. You've been injured. Great, thanks. O'Bannon and Vespucci help you to push the white man's body off of you, dropping aside. Your uniform is utterly drenched with his blood, and for a moment, the exhaustion and the stench provoke a wave of nausea. You repress it, opting instead to reach for the hand that the Irishman has extended to help you back on your feet. Thanks. You catch your breath, eyeing in turn O'Bannon and mostly Vespucci. Without his intervention, you have surely died in the madman's frenzy chokehold. Don't mention it, mate. Just doing my duty. More to the point, though, what the devil gone to him. The devil indeed, huh, Doc? O'Bannon tries to diffuse the tension. You proceed to examine the victim's body, and after a few minutes of analysis, you're ready to give your diagnosis. You explain to your companions that you believe the case is a fever, most likely of malaric type, The only thing that doesn't make sense are those wounds, utterly foreign to malaria or indeed any known disease. On the man's body, you observe lesions and small bleeding sores. You turn the stranger's corpse on its front and inspect his back and neck. There you discover more of those wounds, marking his skin, blood flowing profusely from them. On the back of his neck, you see something unusual. They look like insect bites, but they are symmetrical, as if they were left there deliberately in a precise order. They remind you of a diamond with a circle within. Nothing could be less natural than this. In the meantime, Smith, Bistalai, and the other men from the regiment have joined you. The interpreter is still shaken by his previous experience and keeps his distance from the German, while Smith turns to you with an angry expression. We found the surviving villagers. Disease has spread to this place too. They say that the white man belongs to a larger group, which abandoned him around here some days ago. You're troubled. This expedition is turning into an endless nightmare. Too many questions are crowding your mind right now. For a start, what was that man doing in the village? Was it mere chance, or was the situation set up deliberately? Okay. Let's go quickly check. Okay, we have 20 experience points. I do want more medicine, observation, and speechcraft. I think mostly I'm going to be focusing on those. And hopefully... hopefully I won't do too well. I'll do fine. You reach a village which has its borders delimited by its huts. The air is gloomy and almost solemn, and a group of people, men and women, are swaying from side to side and singing in the middle of a rural square. As if bewitched by its spell, Smith gestures for Bistarai to go and talk to them. The reek of death meets your nostrils. The interpreter approaches one of the men standing in a circle. They speak softly for a few moments. The man listens and nods. When Bistarai comes back, Smith asks him what's happening. A funeral. The men are gathered around a bonfire, and the whole village is covered by a thin shroud of ash. Some corpses must have been burned here too. You suppose the camp survivors you previously reached went directly to these groups of huts. You can see dead bodies wrapped up in sheets being taken from a hut nearby to the bonfire. The fire is about to be lit once more. You have to prevent those bodies from being burned at all costs if you want to know more about the disease. Maybe your only chance, examining still fresh corpses before the natural process of decomposition makes it impossible to identify any distinguishing features of the disease. Okay. Visara exchanges some words with the villagers who seem confused and shocked. They are not persuaded by the interpreter's words, or maybe they just don't understand why one would want to examine corpses. You approach the bonfire without hesitation and start to examine the bodies. The villagers make no attempt to stop you, and they seem engrossed by something else. One whispers fearfully to a fellow villager and steps backwards for no apparent reason. You're not sure what Bastari has told them, but he must have been very convincing. You put such thoughts out of your mind and go on with the examination. There are abrasions on the body, but no wounds. The corpse's eyes are bloodshot, and after taking a better, deeper look, you realize that these men have probably had several hemorrhages. The abrasions must be what is left of their infected sores. The dead cannot tell you anything more. You move away from the bonfire, and you signal to Bistarai. I don't know how to say this guy's name, so I'm sorry if he keeps switching things up. Bistarai, who immediately says something to the villagers. The ritual restarts, as though you had never interrupted it. With the people dancing and chanting, you have taken only a few steps away when you hear the crackle of fire from behind you. The flames are rising up, consuming both wood and rotting cadavers. You respectfully stay silent to observe the ritual, watching the bodies burning and shriveling on the bonfire. The funeral chant is bewitching. They are singing a dirge which seems to come from another world. For a moment, you are enchanted and mesmerized. A shout puts a sudden stop to the chanting. A woman emerges from a hut screaming and tries to throw herself onto the bonfire. The villagers manage to stop her before she can reach the flames. The woman, weak with despair, is carried away and taken to a corner. Some men keep an eye on her to prevent her from attempting to reach the bonfire again. Her whimpers are uneven, interrupted by her weeping and shaking. You signal to Bistarai to follow you while you approach her. She has now taken on a fetal position and is rocking back and forth. The woman keeps shaking and talking nonsense for a few moments, but Bistarai's words seem to work. She raises her tear-stained face, stops her nonsensical muttering, and begins answering the interpreter's questions. What is she saying? She wants to run, escape. You raise an eyebrow, wondering whether Bistarai speaks the same dialect as the woman. It's clear she didn't want to run, she wanted to kill herself. Maybe the interpreter is making fun of you, or the woman is talking nonsense again. You go back to observing the villagers' ritual. Their funeral chants and dances have resumed around the bonfire, and they look as though they are under the effects of some kind of hallucinogenic drug. Bistarai continues to keep an eye on the woman, who, meanwhile, seems to have calmed down completely. He is talking to her, probably trying to figure out more about the situation. Suddenly, you hear a loud thud behind you, and when you turn, you see the interpreter pushed to the ground by the woman, who nimbly avoids you and sprints towards the bonfire. This time, the villagers are too focused on their ritual, and they notice the running figure too late. She is enveloped by the flames. The groaning cries of the people are silenced by the screams coming from the bonfire. It's an agonizing and inhuman wailing in the face of which no action can be undertaken but horrified staring. Everyone watches the dark shape of the woman fading in the roaring fire, her features horribly disfigured by the bright white flames. The ritual is nearly over and the flames are dying. Nobody wants to get close to the ashes, and human bones, probably afraid of seeing the remains of the suicidal woman. Your comrades are fearfully murmuring. They want to retreat. I've never heard such screaming. There's a first time for everything, Huntington. Screams of pain are always dreadful. It's hard enough to hear them when it's you doing the killing, but these, they get into your mind and never leave. After a short silence, you and the men move on from the village to your next destination. The agonized yelling of that woman is still echoing in your mind. Okay. Last place. Upon entering the village, you immediately feel a welcoming atmosphere. Smith is relieved when you see men and women moving peacefully among the huts. Two of them approach you. It's the shaman with his daughter. Do you speak her language? The girl smiles. She answers affirmatively and says she often deals with the British, who have decided to call her Lorraine for ease. If you need to rest, you can stay here for the night. Smith looks at his men, and after moments he nods, accepting the offer. Some rest will be good for you all. When evening falls and the men have organized themselves for the night, a big bonfire is lit in the middle of the village. O'Bannon sings a song and pulls out a bottle of whiskey, sharing it with the others. Okay. How many points? 24. We're getting closer. Not quite at 30 yet. I think if I get to 30, I do want speechcraft first, and then I'll try to go for observation. Brian's dinner has refreshed you, and you can finally enjoy a moment of quiet. The shaman moves closer and asks Smith to follow him. He wants him to go to his hut. The captain watches the man with a grim look on his face, and with the bonfire's flames reflected in the lens of his glasses. Then he stands without saying a word and follows the shaman to a hut that is bigger than the others. You notice that Lorraine, however, is moving away from the village. Hi, regulator. Follow? Follow. The girl goes deep into the greenery. In the starlight, you see her looking for some herbs, choosing and picking some of them up from the ground, and then put them in some kind of woven basket. You try to recognize the herbs Lorraine has gathered in her basket, but you're too far away and it's too dark to even guess. You try to get closer without being heard, but you step on a branch, making the girl look up, startled. I'm sorry, it's me, Jake. Lorraine relaxes, smiles, and starts to explain she's looking for some particular herbs. She needs them to prepare a concoction to protect the villagers. Her words definitely intrigue you. Is this concoction connected to the disease? Let's wait patiently. Lorraine hesitates for a few seconds. Then she seems to open up and starts talking about a mysterious disease. Some weeks earlier, a sick man arrived at the village, hallucinating and delirious. Believing he had been afflicted by some kind of curse, Lorraine gave him the medicine, hoping to defeat the evil that was distressing the man. Within a couple of hours, the man had calmed down, and then his sores healed in one night. The concoction saved both his mind and body. His body and mind, although he remembers almost nothing about his journey before the village. Since then, rumors of the disease had been frequently heard, although none of the villagers have become sick. Lorraine prepares the concoction for each man, woman, and child in the village day after day. It has become her role to protect the village so that the disease never touches her loved ones, her family, and community. Why are you doing this, and not your father? Isn't he the shaman? A glimmer of sadness passes over the girl's eyes. Because he won't be shaman forever, and I will take his place, and he says that time is soon to come. You realize you have touched a very sensitive topic, and you instinctively put your hand on her shoulder to comfort her. Lorraine looks at you straight in the eye as though she is attempting to locate something deep inside of you. Her pupils dilate even in the darkness. You experience a thrill. How long has it been since a woman looked at you like that? You deal with diseases too, right? You nod. You cannot stop staring at her. The sound of the night gather around you. Lorraine seems closer and closer, and then instinctively, you find yourself moving towards her. What? You guys literally just met. I was a doctor before joining the army. Lorraine hesitates for an instant, and then she smiles and turns. Okay, I thought they were like going in for a kiss. It's like, what? Lorraine hesitates for an instant, then she smiles and turns. She goes back to gathering the needed herbs for the concoction. Let me see how you prepare the concoction. Lorraine gestures for you to follow her, bringing you to her hut. She sets a little fire and prepares some clay bowls, showing you how to prepare the concoction. You watch each of her movements while she mixes what's left of the plant with some liquids, boiling it, and then filtering the mixture multiple times. The concoction is ready. With the approval of Lorraine, you pour some of the concoction into a vial, stirring it with great care, slipping it inside your backpack, and then you drink a spoonful. You leave the hut and join your companions around the fire. You join O'Bannon's new drinking game. He already seems too drunk to understand that it's time to stop. Soon enough, his whiskey gets you all fairly drunk, and you find yourself staring at the swaying heads of your comrades. The Irishman seems unstoppable. He continues singing cheerfully, just as Lorraine approaches each of you with a big clay bowl. He holds the concoction she has prepared. She offers it to you and all the soldiers. Lost in the effects of alcohol, you all accept the offer to drink the mysterious liquid. Then you drink more whiskey to take away the awful taste of the concoction. The world around you starts to cloud. Colors slowly blur, starting to light up more and more, while the shapes of the objects and of your comrades melt into weird, incomprehensible fractals. You don't know whether it's O'Bannon's whiskey or Lorraine's pungent mixture, but at some point, you don't know whether you're awake or you're already dreaming. Lorraine walks up to you with her light steps. Jake, come with me. I want to show you one more thing about our medicine. Lorraine takes your hand softly. You feel a thrill. Sure, follow. While you follow her, Lorraine's shoulders seem to stiffen as she walks. Her steps become less and less steady. She turns to look at you. You feel her tension. You seem upset. Something bothering you. Lorraine moves on the spot. She seems uncertain, as if she doesn't know what she wants to show you anymore. Or maybe she just made up an excuse to take you inside her hut. Jake, there are moments I am really terrified. If it wasn't for our medicine, I wouldn't know what to do. The village relies on me and I'm not sure I can fight against this evil. Instinctively, you feel the desire to drive her fear away. Without thought, you close your arms around her, bringing her closer to you. After a few seconds of embarrassment, Lorraine returns the hug. How many months have passed since you've been close to a woman? The girl brings you to the foot of her bed. She slowly starts to undress, letting her clothes fall to the ground. Her face disappears for an instant, hidden behind the poor fabric of her dress. When it reappears from beneath her garment, it seems that Lorraine now has Helen's face. You have the concoction, just... Oh, I keep doing that. Story. Okay. I mean, he's not in his right mind at the moment. I'm tempted for him to just leave. Also, I'm not sure how any girl's gonna feel. Hey, I totally saw you as my dead wife. So, let's just... Okay, I'm gonna leave. The thought of Helen struck you like an apparition. You have not been with a woman since her. What stops you is precisely that image. How can you think of pushing yourself further when your wife's image is still so present in your mind? You sleep in the camp under the open sky. When you awaken, the first thing that welcomes you is a violent and painful headache. You stagger to your feet, grumbling, incoherently muttering and stretching. The rest of the regiment is already having breakfast. I failed an achievement. What? A night of love. Oh. Yeah, but I didn't want to do the achievement, so... You see the bottles of whiskey scattered on the ground. You don't remember much about what happened that last night. You join the men and start eating too. You're talking to Ryan while you eat some delicious bacon prepared by the Italian when Smith approaches. It's time to go. The men get ready and the captain talks to you. Did you find out anything about the disease? Lorraine gave me a concoction which may hinder the effects of the disease or even heal an infected person, but it needs to be tested to make sure it works. Some good news, finally. I managed to talk with the shaman and he told me some men in tunics have crossed the border. Everyone in the nearby villages is talking about it. They may be involved with the disease. We need to be careful. Okay. Alright. So with that, I'm actually going to end the set here. It's close enough to 90 minutes. Yeah. So I think for this one, I will live stream this on the 22nd. Because there's a lot of reading, like my voice is already run dry here, so that's why I'm cutting this less than the 2 hours than I would like to go for live streams. And that said, I might also continue to live stream this during the week of the 23rd and maybe even to the 30th, just because I know there's side stories and stuff like that, so I don't know how much content this game has. I need to recheck exactly how many hours it would take to beat, so to speak, depending on the information that website's given. So I'm going to assume this just automatically saves. So thank you for liking if you liked. Thank you for commenting if you commented. Thank you for subscribing if you subscribed. Thank you for favoriting if you favorited. Thank you for simply clicking on this video. Until next time, guys. See ya!